All right. In this video, we are going to build a fully functional Windows domain environment from scratch. We won't just be installing the Active Directory, but I'm also going to dive into properly integrate DNS, DHCP, and we'll also set up Certificate Authority to manage secure communications. Understanding how Active Directory interacts with these core network services is really critical for any system admin, network admin, or security engineer. So I'm also going to walk you through the lab practical where we configure the different services and exactly like the same way exactly how you would do it in a real world corporate production environment. So let's dive in. Okay, I'm going to begin with the Microsoft Active Directory domain services and DNS as well. Here the server here at 10.8.0.10 from the topology. It's right here, and I have IP address configured there. We can just do IP config. All we have that it's using the public DNS, which is Cloudflare, but we will might change that as we go on. All right, so here's IPv4 address, and the host name here is GDC01, which is a global domain controller. So let's begin with the with the domain services, and I've just opened up a server manager, and let's dive in. So we're going to manage and then add roles and features. Next, next, and next. Of course, now here we are. We are going to select only Active Directory domain services, and then we're also going to do DNS service. For DHCP and Certificate Authority, we are going to set up on this separate server, which is 10.8.0.30. I'm going to click next, and then next, and then next. You can just proceed there, and then you can install. And then this will take a couple of minutes, and then once it's done, we we would want to reboot the server or go straight into promoting it into a domain controller. So we're gonna have to wait for it to install it. Meanwhile, I can also set up the IP address for our for our certificate authority, but we aren't going to set it up just immediately because we'll want to join this server to the domain, which we will do it in a couple of minutes time. Let's just verify the config here. Do we have an ID? Yes, okay. Right, 10.8.0.30. So you can see I did put the DNS here, 10.8.0.10 and 10.8.0.40. At 10.8.0.40 here, we just have a Linux server, which we are going to just set up our recursive DNS, and we'll also show you which the best open source DNS that we're going to be using. All right, so let's check here. Okay, installation. You can always close this, and you can wait for that installation to complete, and then you can, if it prompts you to reboot the server, you can always reboot that particular server. Okay, the installation is complete, so we can close that, and then we can come here. We now need to promote this server to a domain controller. So let's just do that. We're going to create a new forest, and our domain is going to be called contoso.corp. Here's a domain controller. Okay. Let's click next. I don't think this one wasn't set up as a domain controller. You can choose your password there. Okay, then we're going to say next, and then next. And then okay, there we go, console. Then next, and then we're going to say next again, and then next. Needs to be restarted. Okay, we can just do a restart. Yeah, let me just do that. Yes, and then we can just say can come in and do restart of the server. Continue. Okay, so let's let's sign in again, and then we are going to um okay, we can wait for this. Let's check what services are this. All right, nothing to no cause for alarm here, so we can just close this. Can still wait for it. Before we promote this, we just have to wait, ensure all the prerequisites are met. Okay, we can promote this to our now uh, to a domain controller. Okay, let me just go and gonna put our root domain as contoso. What we had tried last before we restarted. Okay, then okay. I think right now we are not getting any prerequisite errors. Okay, that's done like that. That is fine. So let's wait for it to verify the prerequisites for domain controller. operation. Okay, so I think all prerequisites have prerequisite checks have passed successfully, and let's go and install that. Okay, all right. So we're going. This computer is going to reboot. Should reboot shortly, but we can still do it manually. Let me have a look at this. Okay, there we go. It's rebooting. All right. Let's now sign in. You can see we have our administrator. However, I think it's critical that you only use this administrator account, I think, on during the initial setup. But once that is done, you have to disable the administrator accounts and use your domain accounts. Well, with this, I'm going to configure. I'm going to just have two or use organizational units within the domain controller, which will include these two VLANs, and I have configured them already on the switch. So let me try to open this up, and I need to show VLAN brief. So that is finance and engineering. All right. So um, VLAN 10 is finance and VLAN 20 is engineering. Okay. So they're also going to be receiving IP addresses through DHCP, and we're going to set up DHCP on this Certificate Authority server. We'll also set up the DHCP scopes for these two VLANs. So let's go back to our domain services here. We can go to Tools, Active Directory, Users and Computers, but I'm not sure if this thing has completed the initials. Okay, there we go. We can see contoso.corp is here, so we go and right click here. We create a new, we go to new, create an organizational unit. Like we had mentioned, we're going to have finance, and then I'm also going to create a new one. So if I'm really fast, you can always pause the video, and then you can be able to follow along nicely. So within this OU, I'm going to just create a new user here, and then I'm going to call this jane.doe at contoso.corp. Okay, that's next, and then we can just remove that for the sake of this lab. Let's just put a password there, and then say next, and then finish. And then in engineering, we're going to have a new user, and that's going to be John Doe. Doe at contoso.corp. You can leave that. We can set their password. Okay, and then we're gonna click finish. Okay, that's right. So we have we also have our DNS here, and with DNS, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a reverse lookup zone, which we are going to be using this to within our um, um, internal network, and then we are going to be having, for instance, if we are going to be having such things as for example, an internal system that users are accessing, and will be mapping the domain names that we're going to be creating here to their IP addresses. So we'll look at that in the next few, but let's proceed now. Okay, IP before reverse lookup, and then the network ID 1080, because this will be mostly for these static IP addresses of those particular servers. So I can just check this for allow both secure and unsecure, and I'm going to say finish. Okay, so here we are. We have this. We can always come here. We have also forward lookups. Forward lookup is when now we are going to be creating our new A records for our servers. Okay, so DNS is done. I think I can just create a record here. Let's go to manager, and then I'm going to forward lookups, and then I'm going to create a new A record here. 1080.40. This is for my recursive DNS that I'm going to, sorry, not this is not the IP. Just going to call that DNS01, which is dns.0.consoso.corp 1080.40. So that will be the IP address, then create associated PTR record, and then we're going to add host. Successful, that's done. We see it's over here, so this will be mapped to the IP address of our recursive DNS here, which is a Linux server. Okay, let's proceed then. We are done with the domain services. Let's go to the DHCP. Okay, so this is the one that is 10.80.30. So before we set up services here, we are going to join this machine to the domain, and we are going to first things first. So let's go and rename this computer, this server, and then it been renamed. Okay, yeah, it's CA01, which is fine. Okay, so we can proceed here. Domain, we can join that to the domain. We go to change. We look for the domain. So in most cases, if you're going to click OK and you are failing to reach this domain, even if you're able to reach it over the network. Let's first test that, unless the Windows firewall rejects us. So okay, we're able to ping our domain controller. So if you did not set your DNS server as 10.80.10 pointing to the domain controller, then you won't be able to join this to the domain controller. So if we say okay, we should be able to contact it and then get the username, administrator, and then the password, and then we're going to say okay. The following username and password is incorrect. I had faced this issue earlier. Yeah. Mm, is incorrect. Okay. I think this is what I did last time. Let me first stop this node. Stop that. This is 0/3. That's fine. Let me just delete this. And then I'm going to go to node here, then Windows Server, then add this one. I'm going to say DHCP, and then I'm going to give that just 4 GB RAM, which should be able to work. Then I'm going to add that to 0/3, which is fine. Then power on this. Let me see. Okay. OSPF is also off. Up. Okay. All right. So let me go straight to this CA server, and then let's wait for that. Okay, let's jump into that, and then I'm going to rename this PC, configure the IP address. Okay. Um, okay. Properties. Let me add that IPv4, and then this is going to be 10.80 dot. This is 30, and then 255. 255.0, 10.80.254, the gateway. Here we're going to give 10.80.10, which is our domain controller, and then 10.80.40, which is going to be our recursive DNS. We can disable IPv6. We are not using that. And then okay, identifying the network, and then yes, that is fine. Okay, so let's first things first, let's go here, and then we're going to go to properties. We are going to change this name so that we going to say CA01. Okay, it's going to require us to reboot the server. Let's say close, restart now. Okay, so it has rebooted. We will do that, and then now we are going to join this to the domain controller. Oh, our time is good. So this is GMT 00, but however, we can open this as an administrator. We can run this as an administrator, and then we are going to use the time zone utility. We're going to say set, and then e dot Africa, oops, Africa standard time. Okay, so let's go to properties here again. We're going to go to properties here, and then we are going to change settings here, and then change, and then now we can join this to the domain control.corp. Okay, initially I had I think there's something wrong with the two images on the same network, I guess. 1 2 3. Okay, yes, I know what's up. Okay, welcome to contoso.com. This time we've managed to join that to the domain. So yeah, close, and then we're still going to restart the server. I'm also going to just create another OU here, and we are just going to call this this is going to be our cybersecurity department. Oh, oops, not user, sorry. We're going to go to new, and then organizational unit, cybersecurity department, and then you're going to say okay. And then now I can add my name here, and then like that. Also, next, I'm just going to put my password there. Okay, finish. Okay, so this I'm going to be using this account more, so I'm just going to add this to domain controller, domain admins. Okay, and then I'm also going to add this to enterprise admins. Okay, and then I'm going to go to let me see, oops, not that one. Okay, that's still enough for now, so apply. Okay, that's fine. I have that user. This one has rebooted, so we can use the administrator account here or my account. But yeah, I'm just going to be using the administrator account here. But however, let's go and sign in with the I'm just going to go to contoso, and then I'm going to sign in with the administrator account. That is fine. Okay, now we've promoted that to the here. We'll set up first the DHCP, then we'll remember we are going to set up our certificate authority as the last the last bit, so that we'll be able to now begin to authenticate users using certificates. So let's wait for this initialization. I think it's complete. So we're going to manage, add roles and features, and then next, and then next, and then next. Then I'm going to add a DHCP server there, and I'll add this certificate services later. So let's go to next, and then next, then next, and then install. Okay, that is done. We're going to say close, and then we are going to complete our DHCP configuration, and we are going to just use the following users credentials, or we can use we can specify maybe the credentials with the administrative privileges. Okay, so let's go and create our scope. DHCP manager, we're going to begin with the with we're going to begin with our VLAN 10, which is finance. So the new scope, that is going to give it a name, and then go, and then this is 10, 15, 10. Start IP address, you can start with 100, and then we're going to go with 250 maybe. This is /24, so yeah, I'm going to say next. We can leave that blank for the exclusions, and then next, next, and then this will be the gateway. So 10, 15, 10.254. We're going to add that gateway next, and then our parent domain, and then the server name is 10.80. Okay, we can say gdc01.contoso.com, because if this is where we can see our local DNS server working well within the Microsoft. We are going to say gdc01. So if we ping that, you can see we're able to resolve, and that needs our IP of 10.80.10. So if we say resolve, you can see that, and then we can add that which is already even added here, but you can just remove that and can just say next. gdc01.console.com solve, can add that, which is okay. Yes, I want to activate this scope now, then finish. So this will be for our VLAN 10 users. So once we we apply this, we are going to basically once we boot this machine, it's going to obtain an IP address from our DHCP server. However, let me look at this options. DNS servers, I'm going to add here gdc01.contoso.com, going to resolve that, then add that, and then I'm also going to add our I'm going to add our recursive DNS here at 10.80.40. Okay, yes. Okay, because we've not set up that DNS, but however we can still jump into that and then set it up. Okay, let's create another scope for our engineering staff, like that. Next, and then start IP address. What is this? Is 20. Okay, so 10 10 10 10 15 20 dot 100 10 15 20 dot 250. Okay, this is /24, and then we're going to say next. Next, that's the least time. Next. Okay, 10 15 10 dot, sorry, this is 20.254. Going to add that my 10 15 20.254. That's the the gateway. And then we're just we already have this 10 10.80.10 10.80.40, which is fine. We're going to actually, let me, okay, for now we can leave it that way. And then win servers gtc run.control.cop, resolve that, add it, next, 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 and then finish. Now we have two scope here. Oops, let's just do this. We have two scopes. We have engineering guys and finance guys. So once they're able to get the IP address, we should be able to see the address lists here. Okay, that is fine. Let's proceed to configure our certificate services. Okay, so add roles and features. That one is, we will close that. So let's go here. Add roles and features. Next. Next. So here we go. Certificate services. So in this case, we are going to have our certificate services so that we can be able to use that for secure communication as well as authentication. We are going to go with that web enrollment. Okay, we won't need the other one, so let's go to next, and then we're going to install that. Okay, um, let's close that. We are now going to configure our certificate services. So let's wait for this. Next, certificate authority. We can just do that, authority web enrollment, and then this is going to be our enterprise CA. So enterprise CAs must be domain members. So the server already is a domain member. And this is what we're going to be, as you can see, to issue certificates or certificate policies. So it's going to be, of course, our root CA, because we do not have any other certificate authority. So we can select the subordinate certificate authority. If you're going to add other servers here, you're going to select them as a subordinate. So which one? The ones that are going to be issuing certificates on behalf of the root CA. Okay, let's create a new private key. I'm going to choose SHA-56 and 2048 key. You can still choose a longer one, SHA-512 and maybe 1496, but this should just be fine as well. So let's proceed with next. You can leave this as it is. The common name for this CA, that's the C name, you can leave it that way. Validity period, you can specify 5 years, 10 years, depending on what you choose. Let's go to next, and then we're going to say configure. Okay, so that is a success. Do you want to add additional roles and services? Additional role services, no. Of course, we won't need anything else here. Can just cancel that, yes, and then close that. Okay, so what we're going to do right now, in this case here, we have these two. We have this certificate authority here. With DHCP, we have DNS, domain services, the Active Directory domain services, and DNS. Before we proceed, I'm just going to set up an open source DNS server here, which is called Technetium DNS. Technetium DNS is quite a really good DNS, and it's a really good one in terms of when you're going to be using it internally as a recursive DNS for your corporate users. This doesn't have an IP address. Okay, so let's set it up using a net plan. Oops, and then 50.yaml. So I'm just going to go. You can just I'm going to say false, and then we can talk of addresses, and then hit enter. Actually, let me just get it from here right now. Configure IP address in net plan. Just going to get the syntax here. Let me just put this one side here, and then I just need to go and get that syntax. Okay, so here we go. So it's going to be addresses, and then I'm going to say 180, sorry, not 182.10.8.0.40. Okay, and then /24, and then we're going to add routes here, where we'll add our gateway. Oops. We're going to say 2 defaults. Oops, sorry. Via now 10 10.8.0.254. That's going to be our gateway, and then we're going to be adding our name servers. So in this case, I'm going to add Cloudflare's name server. Okay, and that will be 1.1.1.1 and then 1.0.0.1. So reason for this is because we want to, this will be the DNS server internally that will only be resolving domain using public DNS server. But all other internal, but this one is also going to be doing it on the request of the it's actually going to be making those queries to the outside DNS servers, and then it's going to serve the corporate users. So let's do let's plan try. We see if our config is okay. This is fine, so we can say net plan apply, and then yeah, so let's see if we can ping google.com. Cool, so we're able to do that. That domain name resolution. Okay, so let's do let's look at Technetium DNS. We are just going to install it using this command, https. But first, let me just going to do an update. Okay, we might have a couple of packages that needs to be upgraded. Okay, and then let's do a cow. Then we are going to say https download.technetium.com/dns/install.sh, and then sudo sorry, you can just say bash. Yep, we okay. It's going to install our Technetium DNS, which is lightweight but extremely powerful DNS that is meant for privacy as well as security, and you can be able to block ads and malware at DNS level for your entire network. Meanwhile, I'm going to power on these PCs, and you'll be able to see that they will be able to obtain an IP address from the DHCP server that we did set up. I'll wait for that. So right now, ideally, we should be able to actually ping our Technetium from our DNS configuration here that we had DNS 01.10.0.40. We can test that if we're able to actually reach that particular server using the DNS, its DNS name, or its source name rather. Ping DNS 01. Yeah, it's reachable in 10.8.0.40. Okay, so let's go here. Oops. Okay. Okay, so let's dash hostname. I'm just going to change the hostname to DNS01. So if we do an exit, you can see here it's complete. Oops. Okay. Oh yeah, this fellow. This is VLAN 10. This is finance. Let's change this machine to the domain, but we won't be able to do that right now. Let's do it later once we've set up our certificate authority. So let's go back to our certificate authority server. Let's go to run. And then, okay, there we go. And then we are going to just say MMC. Okay, so you're going to go to file, add / remove snapping. We're going to add certificate templates here. We're going to have certificates here. We're also going to have certificate authority here added, then finish, and then okay. All right, so let's begin now configuring our certificates, and here we are going to be using 3 certificates. We'll be using a web server certificate, a machine certificate, and a user certificate. So web server certificate is going to enable us to issue certificates to our internal web applications that we have that will be accessible via a web browser, and we're going to secure that too with HTTPS. The machine certificate will be for all corporate workstations that they are going to be authenticating to the domain using the certificates. User certificates, users will be issued with certificates, but that will be also auto enrollment, similar to the ones for workstation certificates. So let's go to certificate authority. We can see we have the CA, then we go to certificate templates. We're going to right click here and then say manage. From here we're going to, these are the ones that we're going to be using, the web server, user, and workstation. So I'm just going to begin to duplicate all of them here. So let me go to general. I'm going to call this new user v1 certificate. Let's say a version 1 certificate, new user v1. Validity period, we can put 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, whichever years that you're going to use. Okay, and then we're going to allow the key to be exported. We're going to go to keys security. Authenticated users is going to be domain users, sorry, authenticated users, it's going to be only read, write, enroll, and auto enroll. Domain admins, domain users are going to be read. I'm just going to still give them this read, write, auto enroll. Enterprise admin, I'm going to give them full, and then apply that. And then we are going to go to subject name. Here we can only use a UPN user principal name. Okay, because this is only for the user certificate. So we're going to say okay, and then let's go to web server, and then we're going to duplicate this template. We're going to say new web server v1, new web server v1, apply that. So cryptography, that's okay. Yes, the request handling, this is going to be for web server. Yes, allow key to be exported. Issuance, let's go to security. So only the domain admins should be able to read, write, and enroll. We can also use authenticated users to do that if we have an admin account. That's a domain admin account as well, or at least a local admin account can be able to do that and enroll those certificates. Subject name, we're going to say supply in request, because this one is going to be used for those web applications. So we are going to go to extensions. So this one will be both server authentication and client authentication. Actually, I need to add that to our new user v1. So let's go to properties again. Extensions for new user, we're going to go to client encryption, and then we're going to add server authentication as well, and then that will be okay. Okay, apply. Okay, then we can come back here to new web server. Let's finish this up. Okay, this is fine, that is fine. Security, that is fine. Issuance requirements, let's go to subject name. Subject name, this is fine, everything is fine for that web server. So let's go to workstation, and then we're going to go to properties. Sorry, we had copy. Sorry, we're going to duplicate this. Sorry, we didn't duplicate that one. And then I'm just going to do this. New workstation. Then I'm just going to call this v1. Apply. For workstation, go to security authenticated users. Domain admins, domain computers, enterprise admins. That is fine. And then we're going to go to subject name. We're going to go and use that domain name, fully distinguished name, that is fine, and then DNS name there. Let's go to server issuance, security, key attestation, specific templates. Let's go to extensions, and then extensions we're going to add server authentication. That's okay. All right, so we can close that. Come to certificate templates again, then we say new certificate templates to issue. Then we're going to use the new certificates that we've just configured. We're going to, these are the certificates that are going to be issued. Okay, new web server, that is fine. Again, new certificate template to issue, new workstation authentication. Okay, that is fine. We shall create a certificate here. We can go to certificates, trusted certificates. Here we can see already we have one there. So but here I'm going to say all tasks. So in this case, I'm going to actually share certificates to our Technetium DNS here, which since we installed it, it's accessible via the web. Let's just go back and check on that. Oops, 10.80.40, but it was 5380. So it's on HTTP currently. However, DNS on.contoso.cop and then port 5380. Okay, you can look at that. We have Technetium. So new password. Let's just finish up with the installation. So we are going to issue this guy with our certificate, but we can just proceed to configure this, and I'm going to add a new zone, which is going to be our secondary zone. That is going to be contoso.cop, and then primary name server, which is going to be 10.80.10. So we are going to do we'll be doing syncing of the DNS from our global domain controller. So when we talk about resync, but first we also have to go and allow this server domain. This is DNS01. Here we're going to enter IP address or network addresses one below another that are allowed to perform zone transfer. So just to note, normal DNS port is 53, and that is UDP. If we're going to talk about DNS TCP port 53, that is normally for the zone DNS zone transfer. We are going to save those settings, and then we're going to come back here to zones. Then we're going to resync that zone, and then after some time we'll find our records here as well. Okay, so we're going to give this our certificate to DNS, and we'll give it on this side settings, and then we are going to go to web service. We'll first enable HTTPS, and then we're going to upload our TLS certificate here, which is one that we're going to extract from here. We're going to issue from the certificate authority. So let's issue that certificate. Request new certificate. Next. Next. Okay, so we can see here new web server, and then we're going to select that, and then here we're going to add more information. We're going to use the common name. Common name here is going to just be DNS01, which is the CNAME of our DNS server. And then here we're going to use domain name, and then dns01.contoso.com. We're going to add that. We're also going to add just DNS01. Okay, cool. That's it. Let's enroll that. Finish. So once we do that, let's go to our task, and then we're going to export this certificate, and we make sure you export the private key. Okay, so we can disable that, leave it as it is. Let's go on, and then we're going to say password. Just choose a password here. Just want to make sure that I get it right. Otherwise, we'll keep on extracting the certificates. Okay. Oops. No. Then next. Okay, so let me browse where I'm going to save that. It's going to be in a PKCS12 format, or extension rather. Okay, PFX actually. So let me just call that DNS01. I'm going to save it to documents, and then save. Next, then finish. The export was successful. Okay, so if we go here, we go to our DNS here. I'm going to say enable HTTPS, and then the port is going to be 443, or you can choose the port that you wish to choose. And then I am going to copy this. Let me list this directory first. I'm in PowerShell, so I think I can use ls. Yeah, let me go to documents, and then there we are. So I can use SCP to copy that to our technetium DNS at 1080.40. I'm going to store it in our home directory. It's going to ask me for a password. Okay. Okay, so we've copied that it's here, home superadmin. So here we can specify that directory, and then superadmin, and then we're going to do DNS 01.pfx, and then let's put the password that we used during extraction, and then let's save our settings. All right, so let's restart this. We see, okay, can already see we have a user here already, 20 queries. That's quite a lot. This is probably fetching updates. Okay, let's go back to our zones here, and then we can see last modified. Let's resync that zone. Dashboard. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let's go and use our HTTPS. Okay, cool. So our certificate is working. So you can see our connection now is secure, and this is certificate is valid. If we want to have a look at that, you can see Contoso CA01. We can look at the details here. Contoso, this is what we had given it on our certificate authority, and you can see client authentication, server authentication. That is what we gave for our web server, and then we have DNS here. That is the subject alternative name. You can just verify all that. Let me just change the password here again. Never. So yeah, our certificate is working very well. So we've changed that, and that is what we actually intend to do. Certificate is okay, so, and it's valid until December 8th, 2027. Okay, if we come here, we can go to issued certificates. We still don't have any issued certificates. Oh yes, we have, of course, our CA has issued the new web server 1, which we've given it to our Contoso. Okay, so let's proceed now. In the next step, we are going to be doing 802.1x certificate based authentication, and in this we are going to be using certificates here to authenticate users. At the moment, we have a user here at VLAN 10, hasn't been joined to the domain yet, but they already have an IP address, and we'll just use, this is a finance, of course, which was on VLAN 10. We can see they already have an IP address, and here is the DNS server. Seems like there was a oh, okay, this is primary. All right, so first things first, let's join this to the domain, and let's use the user who was, I think, Jane Doe. Yeah, if we come here, we go to finance, we can see Jane Doe, which is fine. Let's go here, let's join this PC to the domain, properties. Here, don't worry so much about renaming the PC. However, it's really recommended to have a standardized format of how you're going to be naming your PC. It's quite good practice, but we won't be dwelling into that so much. So let's just go ahead and do that. Join this to the domain, contoso.com. This time I'm going to use the account that I was using. Okay, then let's see. Okay, so we've joined this to the domain, then we're going to say close. Now, before we restart, we are going to go back to our certificate authority. Sorry, we're going to go to our domain. Now we'll be doing now 802.1x, and this is where we now want to make sure that there's both secure communication as well as authentication for corporate users to be able to authenticate their machine. Their machine are going to be able to authenticate to the network using certificates. So let's go here. How we're going to go about this is we're going to go to our GPO, and then we're going to create a new group policy. I'm just going, let's go and edit that. Okay, so let's go to Windows settings. Nope, 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 nope. Okay, we are going to go here, group policy management. Okay, there we go. That is what I was actually looking for. And then we're going to go to our forest here, domains, and then Contoso. So within here, Contoso, I'm just going to create a new GPO in this domain and link it here. So this is going to just be called, I can just call this security GPO, and then source starter, that's okay. You can just click OK on that, and then we're going to go within our GPO here, and then let's click edit. In this case, now we'll come here to policies, and then Windows settings, and then we're going to go down here to security settings, and then we can see here wired. So here we're going to be using wired 802.1x wired certificate based authentication, and then we're going to create a new policy here. Then we're going to call this 802.1x wired policy. Okay, or so wired authentication for clients, that is, and then you can say initially, okay, you can just say apply that, and then we're going to go to security. In this case, we'll be using a Microsoft protected IP, that means extensible authentication protocol. Okay, before that, we are going to go to advanced here, and then we are going to enforce advanced 802.1 settings, and then click OK. Here we are going to go to properties. We can see already our certificate authority server is there, and then we're going to select that. Down here in our authentication method, we won't be tunneling simply the username and the password, but rather we are going to go with a smart card or other certificate. So this is now IPTLS. IPTLS, we're going now to be getting certificates from the certificate authority server, and it's going to be able to issue those certificates to both the workstation machine as well as the user. If we go further to our configurations, you can see here, you can select our Contoso CA certificate, advanced, nothing much to do here, which is okay. You can click OK there, and you can see enable fast reconnect, and that is okay. So our policy is there, but we still have to do other configurations. We are going to go to our administrative templates, sorry, and then we're going to go to we will go over to our Windows sorry, not here. Let's go to software settings. No, templates, system, not user profiles. Let me check here. Okay. We will need to software restrictions. Okay, yes, on our public key policies, let's first use here. We are going to go to our Windows here, and then security policies here, and then we're going to go to our public certificate, and then we're going to use here enrollment, and then we're going to enable that active directory enrollment, apply, and then we're also going to enable that configured. Okay, apply. That is first. Actually, yeah, that's okay. We're also going to go to our user, and then we will enable all this. Enabled. Okay, and then auto enrollment enabled. That is fine. Okay. All right. Under our Windows settings, we're also going to go to our security here, and then we're going to go to system services. In this case, we want to enforce our wired autoconfig for our corporate users, so that they will always have an automatic enabled wired authentication on their machine, which means it will enforce 802.1x. So they'll be required to either provide the username and a password. Okay, likewise, to use a policy, we are going to go to security settings, and then public key policies. Let's see, these ones are enabled. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, we enabled that, so that is fine. We can do a gp update /force on that, and we can also power on this guy. We can join this guy to the domain as well. This is VLAN 20, where we have our engineering guys. Let's go to our VLAN 10. Let's restart that. So this time it's going to have 802.1x policy enabled. If we go back to our certificate authority, let me just go here and look at issued certificates. We can see now we are having a couple of issued certificates here. We can see we already have an administrator here, and then we expect the different machines as well to be able to be seen here. You can see the global domain controller has been issued the new workstation authentication certificate. We have a new user here, which is the administrator, of course, on that domain controller. Once this one has booted, we should be able to see Jendo here, and the machine certificate, as well as the user certificate. This is VLAN 20. Let me just go and join this to the domain as well. Okay, then I'm just going to go to properties, and then change domain contoso.corp. Okay, I'm going to use my accounts. Close, restart that now. VLAN 10 here. We should be able to see a machine here. Let me just first of all sign in. We can see the time is good, but however, should be able to see Jendo or at least my username. But let me just use Jendo so that we can Jendo. This is VLAN 10. This is finance. Okay, enter. Okay, change to the domain. This is an issue normally that happens with machines not being able to to authenticate to the domain. Okay, anyway, we are going to just go and wipe this machine to wipe up the configs, and then we're going to start it again. So this, let's wait for VLAN 20 here. Let's reboot that machine. It will be able to obtain certificates. So right now what we're doing is just verifying that all our certificates are working well. We can see already for our Technetium DNS, you can see here it got issued. Okay, you can see here you can have revoked, issued certificates, pending, failed certificates also, but we don't have any of that yet, so we'll be having issued certificates. So the reason for this is because of the time. So let's go to this. It will lose that because of the time. The time with this and the domain controller is incorrect. You can see this. So I'm just going to open this partial as an admin, and then I'm going to use the util time zone util e.africa standard time. Okay, and then I'm just going to say sign out. Oops, and it's off. Okay, start. Let me go to VLAN 10 here. Okay, so okay, VLAN 20 is fine. So let's go here. We can use John Doe account here right now. John.doe, and then we can see. Okay, cool. So we should be able to see John Doe's account and certificate here that has been issued. If not, we'll do a group policy update on that particular workstation. Okay, preparing Windows. Meanwhile, let's go to this one here. Let me just go and run this as an administrator. Run as an administrator. And then let's use our okay. Time is screwed. We need to set our AD as our NTP. This is taskbar. Adjust it in time. Let's change that, and then let's add this to the domain. Since we had wiped it out, this is VLAN 10. Yes, that's okay. Properties. The usual. Change that domain. Contoso.corp. Oops. Contoso.corp. Let me use my name there. Okay, close, restart. Okay, VLAN 20 is done. So you can see here, let me just go here. I'm just going to just show you a bit here. So you can see here authentication settings. You can see now a group policy or machine IP profile is already enabled. So that is where we got that from our policies in our 802.1x. Here is where we did set our enable 802.1x. You can see enforce, and then we had our profile there. And then again, what we did was to come to public, sorry, we had to go to software services, and then we did the wired autoconfig, which you can do as well with the wireless settings. Here you can see there's the WLAN autoconfig, which you should be able to enable that if users are going to be authenticating via wireless connection. So we can verify that we do have a certificate. Let's refresh that. Okay, you can see that the user john.doe has been given a certificate, and you can see this is for the template that we used, which is new user certificate, and then we can see their machine there, new workstation machine. Also here, let's go to Jane Doe. Let's put in the password Jane Doe, and then we should be able to see actually Jane Doe here authenticating, and their machine name. And yeah, that is what so far configuring our Active Directory domain services, certificate authority, DHCP, and DNS, and this is exactly what you can do in your corporate network to have your own internal certificate authority where you can be able to issue certificates, be it internal web applications or authenticating users where the certificates. I think probably in our next time we'll be able to proceed with the configuring our network policy server, which you're going to do a much more advanced configuration and conditions. So this network policy server is going to be able to validate the certificates that have been issued, and it will be able to grant you network access. Let's wait for Jane Doe here. We can just verify as well. For Jane Doe is our certificate authority. Here we are. We can come to issued certificates. All right, you can see Jane Doe is there with the machine certificate. So we can still come here, and if we're not getting it yet, we can just do, if it takes time, you can do a gp update /force, and it's going to pull up the group policy, update the group policy from the domain controller. Okay, so that's it. Hope this one was a good one, and you should be able to be comfortably configure domain services, DHCP, DNS, and most importantly, in a secure environment, certificate services. Goodbye for now.